afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. As you can see, I'm not President Alex. I'm your President-elect, Bob DiNardo, filling in today. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Our guest speaker today will be Robert Smith of the African American Legacy Project of Northwest Ohio. I've met Robert on the tennis courts, and he's a very good athlete among many other accomplishments that you'll hear about a little bit later. First, I'd like to ask Past President Chuck Mann to offer a reflection and Shonda Gore to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Chuck?
Let us pray. Dear God, let us offer thanks for our food and blessings for one another. Let us be a source of hope for those in need and fellowship for those who are lonely. Let us give gratitude for our opportunity to serve Rotary. Let the feelings of love, kindness, and a well-directed yet gentle spirit always be reflected in our actions. Amen.
Can everyone stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little bit of business. Well, first I'd like to thank our November weekly meeting sponsor, Raymond, and thank you, Rotarian Brian Kennedy, for that. Thank you for all your support. A little bit of business. Our club elections are coming up, and if you read the Spoke, you saw the nominating committee's ballot and the nominees. If there happen to be any other nominees, you have to make a petition for that by today and submit that to the Rotary office. So as you can see, we've got 4 directors positions and Vice President Travis. Now, I think on Friday, Kathy or Abby will be sending a ballot out in the mail, and that has to be returned one way or the other, either electronically or hard copies to the Rotary office by December 4th. Now I'd like to invite our Executive Director, Kathy Tate, to discuss our ever-evolving holiday event.
So the Toledo Zoo event, which was orchestrated by the Member Engagement Committee under the leadership of Maria White and Joe Blackburn, has continued to evolve. And so as everyone, I think, on this Zoom call is aware, there's a directive from the health department. So I called the zoo, and so there's some changes to our event, which was December 12th. It's still on, so sorry about the was and is. We will not be in the Indigo Room. There will be no cookies or cash bar or anything else. So now what it is, and we would still encourage everyone who wants to go. You can go any night you want to go. It doesn't have to be December 12th. As a Toledo Rotarian, we would like to give this gift to you to go see the Toledo Zoo lights with your family or just you and your significant other. And the Toledo Rotary Club wants to make this their gift to you. And we have about 50 that have RSVP'd. I still need the RSVPs by November 30th, which is a week from today. However, you could go on any night that you wish to go. So I think Abby sent that email out this morning to everyone. It still says what we said last week, which was, cookies and hot chocolate and all that. So that's no longer. Trying to think if I have left anything out. We just need to give the count for the tickets. Oh, I think we have about 50, and we can fund up to 100 who are not Zoo members. So please let me know. And check out that email this morning, or just get in touch with me or Abby if you have any questions. Thank you, President-elect Bob and fellow Rotarians.
Thanks, Kathy. I hope that snow yesterday got everybody in the spirit, and it's too bad we aren't officially getting together during the zoo event, but hopefully we'll meet up with each other along the way here sooner or later. Next, I would like to invite Community Services Chair Kelly Trame to talk about a upcoming service opportunity.
We have a couple really cool service projects coming up. The main one I want everybody to be aware of is we have the, the Salvation Army bell ringing that'll be taking place on, I feel it's Saturday, December 7th, I believe is the date, at the Churchills in Perrysburg. You all should have received an email about it within your spoke and in other Rotary updates to sign up and join. I hope we can get all the slots filled. This is always such a popular event, and looking forward to a great time. Thanks, Bob.
Kelly, I got a quick question. I haven't looked at the sign up yet. Are we doing this in pairs?
Yes, we are in pairs, and I did just get a correction that it's December. I believe it's a Saturday in December.
It's the 5th.
Thank you very much. I know I screwed up on that date. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
But yes, it will be in pairs.
Okay, I've done it in the past in pairs, and I think you'll find whoever signs up that it's a really good chance to get to know someone that's a fellow Rotarian.
Yeah, and the sign up, I think you may have mentioned this. I just want to make sure I get it. It was in the spoke. It's real easy. You pick your time slot, goes directly to the Salvation Army, and then you can pick whatever time you want at the Walt Churchill's Market in Perrysburg.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're moving right along today. We're going to have plenty of time to have our speaker, Robert Smith, and I would like Rotarian Gary Corrigan to introduce him, if you will, please, Gary.
I've met Robert many times over the years, and we worked on projects related to the arts, and even had the good fortune of being at his facility when he was interviewing several candidates for his collection of historical biographies. But he is the founder of the African American Legacy Society, which when I first found out about it, I was saying I did not know it existed. And the projects that he works on are a collection of wonderful stories and of people who have contributed to our community. So I really don't need to say much more about Bob, except that he's enthusiastic, he's dedicated, and he's a true believer in what he is doing. And so, Bob, look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. I happen to know a few of the Rotarians, and it makes it a little easier to be here. I was kind of excited about doing this. In fact, I actually reached out to Gary to figure out who I could contact in Rotary so that we could tell our story. And Gary says, I gotta be honest with you, Robert, people don't know you or the things that you do. And actually that stung a little bit, but we've heard it before. And we had to come to the reality that our marketing budget and a few other things have to improve, but those are the realities of being a small operation. We have been here since, I want to make sure that we're ready to go. We have been here since 2004. How do we do now? I think I'm in the middle. There we go. We've been here. We were founded in 2004. We have a 7-member board. The board is interesting. The first 2 people you see are the 2 of the founding board members, and we can't chase them away. They're so committed and loyal to the process. nor do we want to if we understand legacy at all. You know, their experiences are really critical. Ms. Bernadette Graham, who's a psychologist, is the president. We have emerging leaders, and part of what we do is we identify talented people within the African American community, and at our signature event, we honor them. Our board now is constituted of emerging leaders, and I have to say Dr. Shonda Gore is a prior emerging leader, and she's doing quite well for herself. So we our board is really strong. What we have is a combination of wisdom, education, and energy, and it's paying off, and we know that we're at the cusp of really, really growing. People always ask us, they say, you know, why do you do this? Well, we know for sure that there are stories to be told. We know that as we grew, there was this, we surrounded ourselves, we're around people, the old men, the griots, the storytellers of the community. And whether the stories were, you know, actually true or not, some factual, maybe not factual, there were great stories. But as we got older, we started to realize that, you know, we weren't hearing as many stories. And the reality was that the storytellers were being silenced, you know, by time. So we had to figure out, you know, who would eventually tell those stories. And we started doing research, and we found that, you know, there really wasn't a place where the story of the African-American community was being focused on, if you will. So we took that challenge up in 2004. So in addition to that, we started looking around, we started looking at, well, you know, there was erosion of the foundation of the community, you know, the rituals, all those experiences that made us a community were beginning to dissipate, and we were concerned. So we want to begin to do the kinds of things to impact community, and that's how we position ourselves to do exactly that. As we grow, we tried to figure out today how we would begin to tell a story about this is just a vast collection that we've amassed over the past 16 years. Volunteer basis, it's a passion that we have. Couldn't possibly want to do anything that we're doing right now, other than playing a little more tennis, but this is critical work, and we've learned that it is. So our focus today is on the notables in the community, maybe people familiar or relatable at this point in time. So we want to start out in the beginning. So, you know, I have a preamble to this. I was connected to musicians in the city for a long time. Joan Russell and Cliff Murphy at Murphy's Club offered us their facility. So we started with musicians, and we talked to them about their peers. We talked to them about the people who brought them in, who mentored them. I mean, we had the cream of the crop at Murphy's on a monthly basis. Claude Black, John, Clifford Murphy, and just a range of people who were involved in the music scene. Here, I don't know if you can see here, that's a minister, he's deceased, but a minister who talked about Woody Herman coming down Dorr Street in their band, and it was just an amazing experience, you know, musician to musician. And I would ask him questions. I ask all of them questions. These men in so many ways mentored me. As a religious guy, I asked Reverend Glover at that point, hey, you know, is there a difference in musically, you know, religious or otherwise? And his response to me was, an A flat is an A flat. But, you know, as we continue to do this, you know, the thing that we know about this project is you can feel your mortality. The people pictured in this picture are no longer with us. The only people remaining, you know, as you know, Cliff Murphy and Claude are gone. The only people remaining out of this picture is myself, standing, and the gentleman sitting next to me, and he has a dementia. So you really begin to understand what legacy and the importance of documenting. And we're talking about over a period of time that since 2004, what we have amassed, we actually lost more than we have collected. But, we're beginning to, every scintilla, every small piece of information is critical to defining community, critical to sharing with the future. So we're talking about notables. That's my long preamble. I have just a dire relationship, just an incredible relationship with this group of men. And we celebrate them for helping us to define the foundations of this project. So in this, you would think that we're showing you this picture because the photography was great, or that we're celebrating the wedding. Well, we are. The photographer, what great luck to catch that veil that way. But the story is more than that. That's a picture of Mr. J. Frank Troy, June of 1957, June 29th. That's when he and his wife, Augusta Douglas, tied the knot. This tells a story of how we sometimes get information. Their wedding album was found in Michigan at a flea market. And a lady purchased it of Caucasian persuasion and began to try to find the family. Somehow she reached out and found us, and together we found the family. We actually knew who it was immediately, but we brought the family in. We shared the information with them, and they agreed to let us digitize the collection and be the record holder of the collection as long as we digitize it and ensure that every member of the family got it. The story goes further. Within that wedding album, there was an invitation to Mr. J. Frank Troy from President Dwight D. Eisenhower, invited him to attend the inauguration, which was June 21st of 57, 6 months prior to his being married. Mr. Troy was an adroit politician. And throughout this community right now, there's a senior center, it has been a senior center named after him for a period of time. A Republican, no doubt, and was a very, very snazzy dresser, but very wise man. But before Mr. Troy went to the White House, Miss Eleanor Phillips Stewart had already been there. Miss Stewart, school named after her, was one of the first African-American pharmacists, female pharmacists in the country. She actually attended the second inauguration of President, attended the second inauguration of President Truman in 1949. She's pictured here with Miss Mary McLeod Bethune, Dr. Bethune of Bethune-Cookman College. The two work both on the work professionally across the country in racial relation. And even Mrs. Stewart had gone further in the Pan Am. She was both national and international, yet she operated a pharmacy here in Toledo. It's strange that these two Toledos went to DC, but a DC attorney came to Toledo. His name was Mr. Albertus Brown. He was a Howard graduate. He came here, practiced law. He started the first Frederick Douglass, noted as the founder of the first Frederick Douglass Community Center. Then located, he raised $1,200. It was located on 11th Street. Moved over to 15th Street. Now it's in its current location, 1927. Current location on Indiana Avenue. Mr. Brown passed away in 1948. Interesting enough, he was such an authoritative politician. We actually have his pristine obituary, which demonstrates how well he coalesced in the city and how acute a politician he was. In fact, the then president of editor of the Toledo Brave, Grove Patterson, actually spoke at his funeral. There was a Blade headline that talked about how and why he passed, and interpreting the headline, it said Mr. Brown literally worked himself to death. Cornelius Edward is another gentleman who actually worked for the Blade, but he's on record that we have right now. He founded the Toledo Observer, the first African-American newspaper in the community. Notables, Dr. Martin Luther King. His first visit to Toledo was orchestrated by Judge Robert B. Franklin, who was also a Morehouse man. Well, Judge Franklin was far more acquainted with Dr. King's father because they both sat on the board of Morehouse. Judge Franklin is one of the people that we honor, but he's the one who helped to bring him here, first occasion, and more importantly, to extend that Morehouse tradition through our community. Just before Judge Franklin passed, actually the then president of Morehouse came to town. I was able to witness and celebrated Judge Franklin. And that president of the Morehouse name just happened to be Robert Franklin as well. So we got to learn quite a bit about Judge Franklin over the years. He would come visit us and just reminisce about his time. We shared this picture with you because if you know names like Jim Roods, Gordon Ward, Art Berry, and others, Frank Venner, then you're probably telling your age. Mr. Bill Harris had a distinguished career at Channel 13. He was actually working in the factory and decided that he wanted to do more. And he left and went to Detroit, and may have commuted even to a school called Scripps Howard. And he came back and did a little stint in radio, and he went on to become a producer at Channel 13. He won Emmys, et cetera, and so forth. He is a precision kind of guy. I actually work with him, and he wants it right. And he gave me headaches, but I learned from him, rest assured. Talking about notables, we just lost Mr. Emerson Cole this year. Mr. Cole was the first African-American drafted by the Cleveland Browns. There had been one other African-American present, but when the NFL instituted the draft, Mr. Cole was drafted, Toledo native, actually from Swanton, was drafted by the Browns and then went on to play with Chicago. We show you this picture because we like to talk legacy. In this image is Mr. Cole being celebrated by his son, Charlie Cole. And for those of you who follow UT sports, you both know that both of them were exceptional running backs for the University of Toledo. So we wanted to figure out a way to share some of the work that we've been doing over the past 16 years. And the best way we could do it, we wanted to integrate some of our programming into this conversation. And we wanted to start out with education. And the first person I wanted to demonstrate to you was my grade school principal, who I know to have been a Rotarian, Mr. Emery Leverett. He also served as the superintendent of Toledo Public Schools and was instrumental in the lives of a lot of young men and women in this city. Talking about education, I have to acknowledge Mr. Christo Ellis, who he comes here a lot and he looks around and he's always got his golf club in his hand. He's always teaching. But he looks around and he says, this place represents my life. These are the people that helped me along the way. Next to Mr. Ellis, obviously Dr. Robbins Durant. And the current superintendent, as Mr. Ellis did his job, mentoring hundreds, if not thousands of kids, that's what Dr. Durant is doing. The third gentleman in the picture, you may or may not know him, but he served on the library board for 23 years as Dr. Joseph Somerville. We just lost him this year. Dr. Somerville holds held 4 graduate degrees from the University of Michigan prior to getting his PhD. He taught at the University of Toledo, and a critically exceptional man who worked quietly throughout this community. What we do with education, for the longest period, we have been creating publications for kids 3rd grade on, and we distribute them throughout the Toledo Public School system and in charter schools, churches, and otherwise. So what we do, we take information about national figures like Colonel Bolton, who was an astronaut, who also was fully engaged with NASA. He actually ran NASA. And then we take a local component and do a local story. This one was about Mr. William Palmer. And we share these with kids. There are puzzles in there. Then we relate with the library. What we do is we ensure whenever we do a story, we make sure we choose a children's book that's related to the subject, so the parent, the child, and or the instructor has an opportunity to continue the conversation. That's Dr. Franklin Duffy and Dr. John Williams. I want to go back to one slide. This is Dr. John Williams. I want you to know that he's a native of Toledo, well, he's Mississippi, but he was raised in Toledo, played ball at Libby High School, went on. Woody Hayes heavily recruited him, but he went on to play for Minnesota and then won a Super Bowl ring. As a matter of fact, he's over my shoulder. He's a friend. He's got a big picture. He's over my shoulder. And then Woody Hayes told him to go into dentistry. So a lot of money at that time wasn't in professional sports, not as it is today. So in the off season, he got a dental degree. But he also got his degree, he became a forensic dentist. So when they called him into, when the planes crashed into Twin Towers, Dr. Williams was present. He was there. He used to come to town for us to fly himself in and go to the schools. We have a lot of schools that we mentored, so we're really very excited about the things that we do with the schools in our immediate area and beyond, virtually through the publications. We have a signature event. It's called our Legends event. It's a pretty special event to us. It's become a coveted honor. We show you the kente, where it's hand woven in Ghana. As you saw, Mr. Cole was bestowed by his son, Dr. Johnny Early from the University, Dr. Carl Armstrong, Miss Mary Gregory, the first nurse at Mercy, African-American nurse at Mercy Hospital, and the still living with us, Mr. Eddie Cole. He's now living in Detroit. Attorney Eddie Cole. You'll note here, if I can show that, I don't know if it pops up, you'll see the scales of justice. We kind of personalize each one of these for each one of the individuals. That was Dr. Stockard as well. You know, we have a project called Voices, and it's an incredible project. I'll just say it in a simple way. When the death of George Floyd caused young men and women across the country to, we heard voices from not just across the country, but across the world. We had this great idea. We thought that we could, we went to Toledo Community Foundation and hoping they would support us to bring some of the young, brightest minds together with law enforcement to talk about this issue, to try to make sense of it, and maybe even come up with some kind of conclusions. Thanks to the Greater Toledo Community Foundation, their project is fully underway. I think you would be impressed with some of the conversations that are taking place. They're incredible. You can, if you choose to and you want to see it, you can view the episodes at AfricanAmericanLegacy.org or visit us at Facebook. We really appreciate Greater Toledo Community Foundation's leadership on this matter. I wanted it to go well. We didn't want to orchestrate it. We want it to be natural. And if you take a look at it, you will see we're great conversations. We do have a Sports Hall of Fame. And we started out about 4 years ago. And we started because of a gentleman whose brother actually played at the University of Toledo, had been collecting memorabilia on athletes for a long time. And he promised to share his collection with us. It's over my shoulder. There's about 10 reams of information that he collected on African-American athletes. So we named this after him. And we salute and celebrate his effort. We thought about what one man could do. And we think sometimes that our work is hard, but it's really not at all. Actually, it's joyful. This picture here, we knew that Miss Marianne Pierce offered her family collection to us, And in that collection was a picture of her dad with Mr. Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis used to come down from Detroit and play in a tournament called the Midwestern Golfers Tournament. And they played it between Bayview and Ottawa Park. And this, without question, Mr. Lewis was a big hitter. And that Midwestern Golfers Tournament, it predates the time when things were as open as they are today. So it verified, we actually picked up a couple of newspapers where we saw where Joe Lewis actually appeared here in Toledo. And we're very, very happy to have that validation. You see Mr. Truman Claytor, 1978, Toledo Scott grad, All-Stater, only man to ever win an NCAA title. In this picture, you see that ring, but you also see a statue carved by his teammate, LaVon Williams. Mr. Williams is an artist now, and this statue represents Truman's number 22 number. Truman donated it to the project. And you actually see Dr. Williams over Truman's right shoulder, image painted by local artist, Mr. Robert Shorter. I can go on and on, but Truman and all of his teammates got this special piece of artwork, and he shared that with the Legacy Project. And we have his a replica of his game jersey, and what people have done to help us maintain this. It's amazing, just amazing. We talk about Chuck Ely all the time, and I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Chuck Ely is he's a great athlete, but Mel Long is hardly mentioned. Mel Long was a consensus All-American. Mel Long was not just a consensus All-American, he was also a decorated, and I mean a highly decorated Vietnam veteran. We honored Mel Long 2 years ago. We didn't do our Hall of Fame last year. There's Mel with Bob Pope on that. I don't know if you remember, Bob Pope used to do that show on Saturday nights doing the All-Americans. Well, you had to be of a certain age to remember those things, but Mel was gifted. And and just like Mel, there's another gentleman who we should elevate even more, Mr. Curtis Johnson. He's the only man in this country, in this world, who can say he went undefeated in college and undefeated in the pros. Undefeated with the University of Toledo, 35-0, and undefeated with the Miami Dolphins. Curtis has slowed down a bit. We were going to honor Curtis this year in 2020, but COVID. But we changed it now to honor Curtis and a group of people on the 21st. Given that the vaccines are good, the 21st of June 18th at the Premier Banquet. It's a banquet hall. I can only tell you that it's a great experience. If you like sports, we hope that you would want to participate, and we're always looking for support. 2 men out of the 2 men, you see Curtis, but we're also showing the man that we are honoring this year too, posthumously. His name is Jack Thompson, who also went to Wake. Curtis Johnson considers him his hero. They used to call Jack Thompson, a decorated military paratrooper, Mr. Touchdown over at Wake. Curtis called him his hero because Jack Thompson was his brother. The Negro League. This is the 100th anniversary celebration of the Negro League. And for most of you who don't know, there were 3 teams from Toledo who actually played in the old Negro League. Just about a month ago, with the help of the Lucas County Commissioners and with the future help from the city of Toledo, we unveiled a historical marker the rendering for the historical marker that will be placed on the property here in the springtime. As a result of that, our discussion, baseball used to be so important to our community. We're going to try to bring baseball back to the central city. We have a 21-member committee, a range of talent and experiences, from Truman Claytor to Terry Crosby as Central 2 sports guy. Just we're committed to doing this. And what we want to do is we want to start this the right way. We want to, kids this age don't know baseball. So we want to get a couple of trailers and go from place to place to place and begin to teach kids and mentor kids. We want to bring them here. We want to cook a lot of hot dogs on the grill. We want them to see what how important sports is, but we want to teach academics. We don't want kids waiting until they are seniors in high school thinking about the SATs. Mr. Satchel Page, we sequenced that one incorrectly. So we want to do just a little bit of entertainment very, very quickly. A lot of people don't know, over my shoulder are the tap shoes of Mr. Prince Spencer. Mr. Prince Spencer graduated from Woodward High School in 1931. He left here and he joined a group called the Four Step Brothers. The Four Step Brothers performed all over the world. They performed for about 8 presidents. They helped to break barriers. They have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Mr. Spencer ended up going to Chicago and opening up a 100,000-foot grocery store, but his buddy Red came and got him and said, "Hey man, you don't know anything about the grocery business, come join me." So Mr. Spencer left and became Red Fox's manager for 18 years. We asked Mr. Spencer for a pair of his shoes and we honored him in 2010 and we brought him home. He was slightly incapacitated and his son presented me the shoes and I can never forget what he said. He said, "Robert, my dad told me to tell you," he held the shoes up and said, "My dad wanted you to know, these are big shoes to fill. I get it." Stanley Cowell's an incredible musician who performed tribute the 100-year celebration to Mr. Art Tatum. He teaches at Rutgers University and travels abroad. He is from this neighborhood. He also performed a tribute to Tatum for the Toledo Symphony. We have a project, an incredible project that's on the horizon. We call it the Tatum Project. We are very much interested. There are a couple of names in this community, Jeep, maybe Danny Thomas, and the other one would be Mr. Art Tatum. Very, very simply, we don't think Mr. Tatum has gotten his just due just yet. So what we are proposing, we're proposing something very, very critical. We're proposing putting a statue on our property at the corner, at one of the busiest gateways in the city of Toledo, at the corner of Collingwood and Door. And we're working through some details right now. And Toledo Community Foundation has agreed in principle that they would create a fund so that we could do what we want to do, and that's create a perpetual memorial to the legend of Mr. Art Tatum. We just wanted to share a little bit. We could never tell you all the stories here. We wanted to, but we can't. But we invite you to come by. We're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until 3. We're small staff. We operate Saturdays by appointment here. Our email contact is in front of you, info@africanamericanlegacy.org. The phone number appears on the screen. We want to be more a part of this community and want this community to support us even more. So you can always find us at the intersection of yesterday and tomorrow. That's our mantra. So we hope that you've enjoyed the presentation, and we thank you so very, very much for giving us the opportunity to present. Thank you.
Robert, thank you so much for an incredible presentation. I want to open it up to members to ask questions. And so while those are coming in, again, I want to remind members, if you've got a question, you can select the raise hand button in the participant tab. Or if you want to send me a message privately through chat, we'll call on you and allow you to ask the question directly. Robert, just kind of to tee off our Q&A session, one of my favorite quotes is and I'm going to butcher it, but this idea of, if we ignore history, we're bound to repeat it. our goal, I think, when we look at the youth in our community today, is to repeat history, to have strong African Americans that are changing our world. So, talk to me about how important it is to make sure that we don't ignore this history, so that we do indeed repeat it.
Well, I don't think that we ever ignore it. I think that we have to prioritize it, if you will. That's what we've chosen to do here. You could not have told me that this is the work that I would be doing for the rest of my life. But now you can't tell me this is the work that I won't be doing for the rest of my life. I'm committed to this. And the responses we get from the young people to not know that there was a whole business district. The thought of being entrepreneurs hadn't been there before. When we share the history of this business district, they're shocked. So we're here to stimulate the whole process. Just love it. Just love it.
All right, let's go to Bob Seaman. He's got a question. So Bob, we're gonna ask you to unmute your microphone.
Okay.
And you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. What a great presentation. Love the stories. Love the photos. You have so much on individuals in here. I wonder about the history of Dorr Street as a commercial district. You just mentioned it. Do you have documentation and stories and photos of that as well?
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. So you're talking to a kid I lived about 3 miles from the heart of Dorr Street, and you couldn't tell me. I got up, took a shower, jumped up, and just ran to my job in the 1300 block of Dorr. Even right now, yes, we do. To answer you, yes, we do. The reason why I didn't start this because it's a passion. If I started this, it would take all day. We have been documenting Dorr Street. One of our major projects is called Dorr Street Live. Annually, we do an event called Dorr Street Live. 5,000 people. We haven't asked for support. We seek support for that, and we provide the history of Dorr Street. We have a young man that we're working together. We're going block by block by block to ensure that we tell that story, to ensure that we uncover as best possible the businesses. But prior to Dorr Street, there was Indiana Avenue. So we're collecting the history and trying to put it in order. And they're just incredible stories of mom and pops who supported this community, who I think, the underpinnings of society, of our culture are no longer there just because it's not there. And perhaps it won't happen in my lifetime, but we can plant the seeds so that this community can change, can be better contributors to our city as a whole.
Thank you.
All right, John Wasserman,
Thank you.
you are next.
Hey, great job. Channel 30 has a great video on African American history that's outstanding. And then there's also The Farmer. They'd have a lot of great musical artists. And then you mentioned Slater Gibson. I happen to be an attorney, and Slater Gibson I thought was a great, I didn't hear you mention, but he was fantastic too.
Yeah. So your fellow Rotarian, people don't know, Mr. Emery Leverett, J. Slater Gibson was his father-in-law. Actually, Mr. Leverett's son is named after him. Mr. Gibson wrote a lot of laws that were on the books, and still they may be archaic, but still might be on the books for the city of Toledo. And at one time, he was the single attorney representing the Toledo Board of Education. So we hold Mr. Gibson way high. We have been documenting attorneys. We're documenting government officials. We're really small, and sometimes I'm amazed at what we've been able to accomplish in spite of that fact. So yeah, we're very, very familiar with the work that he's done over time, Mr. Gibson.
All right, Candace Harrison is up next. Candace, go ahead.
Mr. Smith.
How are you, Candace?
Well, I was going to try to prompt you to talk about Door Street, to talk a little bit more about it, but somebody else touched on that. So I figure I would just still keep the opportunity to thank you for talking to us today and sharing some of the rich history from the African American community in Toledo. My family, our legacy grew up, my grandmother grew up on Oakwood and Collingwood, right next to the Sunoco gas station that was there. And so they were very connected to Door Street. And it's a wonderful history. It's very rich. It's very robust, very positive. And thank you for everything you're doing to get us back to that. And also just to speak to the wonderful third grade program that you offered at Toledo Public Schools as a school district. Obviously, we're very thankful for that. And personally, I'm thankful because my own daughter had the opportunity to get exposure to history from her own community through the work that you guys do. So I just wanted to say thank you. Wonderful presentation. It was good to see you.
Good seeing you.
All right, I am going to ask past President Tim Ryan has a question. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much. First, I have to say I've really enjoyed this presentation, Robert. Thank you for coming and
thank you.
This. I wonder if you'd like to tell us what a griot is. It's a term you used very early in your presentation today. And it's an important job, but that's what you have to say.
So synonymous with storytellers, usually the elders of the village, usually the one who keeps the record. He goes around from place to place, village to village, town to town, story to story, sharing and collecting the information. Most respected, most heralded person, one of the most in the form of the larger community. So the griots play an incredible role in telling the history. We had an oral history, and we're trying to change that because so much has been lost. I hate to keep using that refrain. And I want to thank you for saying good presentation. As Walter knows, I was shaking in my boots. Both Travis and Walter knows I was really shaking I really wanted to make sure you guys had that we could really interpret what we've been doing for this period. So hopefully that a definition helps.
Thank you very much. And you are a griot.
Thank you.
All right, Chris Anderson, you are up next.
Hey, thanks a lot. It was informative. I was curious, is there a national organization or other people you're affiliated with where you're able to compare notes and educate each other to the way you're each approaching it in your own communities?
So Dr. John Fleming was founding director of Wilberforce Museum. He's also was a consultant on the National African American Museum on the Mall. When we first started talking about it, he also helped to get the Art Tatum marker at the Art Tatum House. Dr. Fleming adopted me and everybody else who's in this very, very small space. So we get to talk to a lot of people who are in this space. When we first started this and on another project, we just didn't visit African American museums, although we spent a lot of time at the King Arts Complex in Columbus. We got to go to the Chrysler Museum, the Henry Ford Museum. We got to go to the back end. We got to see things and learn things. We rolled up our sleeves. We didn't just assume anything. We've been working diligently, and it's pretty hard. I went to Libby High School. We don't have a Libby endowment. It's a little tough.
A follow-up. I've been engaged in 2 programs here in the last 2 months that get into Black history, going all the way back to Africa.
Yes.
And I'll just say it's been very sobering to me. And I've been curious about just the broader view of this as just an educational platform for other things.
So, as with Voices that we demonstrated, the project that Greater Toledo Community Foundation just funded, that's based in what we want to do. we collect information, but it does us no good if we can't share it. That's why we share it. In fact, I'll share you another project that we're working on right now. And in our area, immediate area, there are 3 schools, 4 schools really. They talk about food deserts. We are in a STEM desert. The sciences are not where they should be. We talked to Dr. Durant, and we've been working very hard with area African American scientists, and we've opened the door and we found some discoveries, and we may have the opportunity, if we can get to a point where we can have these scientists working with kids. We found a project, oddly enough, actually Dr. Leslie Burham in the engineering department of the University of Toledo found a project called Algebra by the 7th grade. We're trying to work right now to, if kids don't, the research says if kids don't get a piece of science, if they don't understand the sciences, life is tough now, but it's going to be worse without it. So education, I know I'm not speaking directly to your point. When you talk about the history has been Brown versus Board of Education, the process of learning and prior to. So education to me has a broader format, form of context. And so everything we do, every moment that we are involved in is about educating ourselves and then others. I hope that helps you.
Well, I'll just say you hit one of the 3 that I've picked up on, which is the history talks about education, housing, and access to finance. So,
Yes,
and so those were the 3 that were sobering to me. So yeah, you spoke to one of them, so thanks.
So I don't want to be political here, but you know, I'm going to be community here. We have to have the opportunity to use our history to define what happens next to this community. I do believe people are tending to make decisions about what happens to the people in this community. They really haven't talked and they really haven't listened. So I think that it's no more than having done business a certain way. And I hope that the opportunity comes that not we personally, we have, as you will see if you watch Voices, there's some incredibly bright minds, including Ms. Harrison, who know how to move community forward. I'm not speaking of Robert. I'm talking about how we can better contribute to the overall society. That comes through education. So I speak too long. I speak too long. Next question. I'll go off on a tangent somewhere. Bring me back.
So I think I got 2 more questions, but I just got a note that I want to acknowledge, and I'm gonna try and see if I can pull this together on the fly here. I just got word that we've got 2 guests that joined the call. So Gary Franklin, the son of Judge Franklin, and jazz recording artist Joey Somerville, the son of Dr. Somerville, are both on the call today.
Hey, Joey. Hey, Gary. Joey and I have a future date. And Gary's been working with us for
looking forward to it.
How are you doing?
Wonderful. No complaints. All is well.
Are you still at the house? You're not going out?
Just going out and doing filmed events. I just did something in Birmingham where we filmed and they broadcast it virtually. So I did a couple of those kinds of events, but nothing with a live audience.
Okay.
So we're just staying safe and keeping the cooties away.
So, you know, I remember what you said. Yeah, Robert, I'll do something, but come at.
Yeah, right. We have to maintain, we have to keep it, what is it, CDC compliant.
Yeah, okay. Good to see you, man.
Likewise.
Okay.
All right, Joey, thanks so much for joining the call. I appreciate this is, we talk about, some of the silver linings of trying to find the silver linings with COVID. And I think to be able to pull folks in as guests on this has just been fantastic. So, all right. So Dr. Shonda Gore has a question. Let's see if we can unmute her microphone. And you can go ahead.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm not sure if it's necessarily a question as much as it is a statement of reinforcing on how very important it is to continue to support the museum. And I say this not just because, and I appreciate the acknowledgement of the emerging leader. I don't feel like I'm emerging anymore, but it's been a long time.
Certainly
but
not.
It's so, but it's, I will say that it's so very important when I go to other cities and I see the support for this historical saving of a culture. You know, you see large amounts of support go into this. It's so important. I would say for the youth, if you would ask me if I remember hearing about the history, the way the museum captures it back in my high school times, no, not at all. Maybe part of my college years, but it's really about seeking out. And so the more we can do to support and spread the word, I also would encourage for the museum, if you have or know someone, I know Robert always asks me, make sure you get your stuff over to make sure that we're capturing in our Toledo area. And so I just want to really push for that, for continuous support with the the legacy luncheons are so very important. It's our fundraising. I'm going to buy that popcorn when it comes around. And so this is what we need to do. We need to do that to say that culture, it is part of the Toledo area.
So Dr. Gore, what I will say was I appreciate you using the technical term that I use, stuff. Thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to warn Vice President Bob that we're going to push over here, and I apologize. All right, so I've got a question from Earthy, and I do have a comment that I want to get to from Janet Hales that I don't want to let you leave before we get to that. So Murthy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm a newbie in the Toledo Rotary Club, and I'm learning a lot each meeting. And thank you for the history of Toledo. This is outstanding, and the work that you're doing. One of my passions, I've been in Toledo for 13 years. I'm a transplant. I worked at UT. Now I have my own practice. I'm a doctor, family doctor, and a geriatric specialist. So one of my passions has been, since I've been in US for 20 years, was to kind of help the youth understand about health and the disparities, and as you know, COVID, how it hit. And I've been a doctor 25 years, and finally I realized that it's the lifestyle that really can give health care and not just sick care. I'd love to kind of work with any initiative through the Rotary Club because I love education, I love teaching. I was a professor, I'm still affiliated with 2 universities as an adjunct to help, you know, any project that I can get involved in education, because that's very critical as one of the arms to kind of change lives. And we have now American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I just got board certified, have all this information and knowledge and research evidence, and it touches even to the communities that don't have money, like who are on food stamps. So we can make a difference. So I'd love for me to get involved with your organization or any Toledo Rotary Club initiatives in the Black. And I even reached out to Dr. Durant. He came to my office. He loved what I was trying to do. I'm in Toledo on Lasky Road. So I'd love to get involved. Please let me know. I'll call you with the number with the number that you just shared,
Sure.
but I would like to get involved.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and then as I mentioned, we've got a comment from Janet Hales. So I'm going to bring Janet up. Janet, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. And you can go ahead.
Mr. Smith, I am the Executive Director for Advocates for Basic Legal Equality, ABLE, and we are working with entrepreneurs in the Junction neighborhood. So if you have some people with ideas wanting to get started, we've got some attorneys who would like to help.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. I'll put my number in the chat, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful, Janet. Thank you so much. Robert, thank you so much for an incredible presentation. You can tell by the excitement of our club members and the questions and the chat that this was a phenomenal and vibrant presentation. So thank you so much for that. And with that, I will hand it back to Vice President Bob DiNardo.
Thanks, Kevin. Excellent presentation. Really enjoyed it. One quick question.
Yes.
You've got so much stuff that you've accumulated.
Yeah.
Do you have enough room, and how the heck do you keep it organized?
No, we don't have enough room. We have volunteers who come through to help us maintain. When we walked into this site, we said to ourselves, we're already out of space. And that was 16 years ago. So it's critical. We have an off-site, and that's about to explode. People care about their stories. We care about the continuation of a culture, of a history, of a people. We are here. I know that we have a younger board intentionally. There's a season for everything. So we're looking for the future.
All right. Thanks so much for presenting today. Really very interesting. I know so much more about you now than I found out about on the tennis court.
Okay. Thank you.
We are, in appreciation, we have a well-known book in Toledo called Historical Tales of Toledo. It's authored by one of our past presidents, Clint Mock, and we'd like to send a copy to you. And it'll be in the mail in the next week or two. And we'll also make a donation to the Polio Plus Fund in your name. And again, thanks so much for presenting today. Really great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great project. Other announcements, there is no meeting next Monday on November 30th. No committee meetings today. Thanks to everybody who helped put this together, all in the background, Kevin, Kathy, everybody else that did the presentations, really appreciate it. And have a great Thanksgiving. We would like to end with past President Chuck Mann and Chuck's Chuckles.
Thank you. Hey, I shot my first turkey today. It scared the crap out of everyone in the frozen food aisle, but it was awesome. I'd like to reduce the amount of leftovers I eat after Thanksgiving, but I cannot just stop cold turkey. And I was picking through the turkeys at the grocery store for Thanksgiving Day. I couldn't find one big enough for my family, so I turned to the stock boy and asked, "Do these turkeys get any bigger?" "No, sir," he replied. "They're dead." Vice President Bob.
Thanks so much, Chuck. And we are waiting for that little bell so we can adjourn, but I don't know who's got it. But we're adjourned. Thank you.